All right. Good morning, you magnificent melon heads. How's everybody doing today? Another day, another crypto bankruptcy. Or three. I think three. But who's counting? What do we got? BlockFi went bankrupt yesterday. No big surprise there. BlockFi is one that was teetering on the brink back in May. And then scam bank run fraud stepped in with a bunch of his people stolen money and offered to bail them out. That one is officially filing for bankruptcy. Saw some interesting information in there yesterday. We're not going to get too deep into the BlockFi bankruptcy, but every time another firm files for bankruptcy, you get another list of assets and another list of liabilities, and it gives you a good idea who might be next. So Mish and I were digging into that a little bit yesterday. We've got this firm AAX out of Hong Kong. Looks like those guys have ghosted. They're gone. Bye-bye. Another few 100,000, few million people lost money there. And we got this other one, BitFront, just popped up. I've never heard of BitFront before. Who are these outfits? My God, BitFront. Okay, they're gone too. Bye-bye. So they're just dropping like flies here, folks. I don't know who's next. If you would have asked me last week, I would have said Genesis was probably next because Genesis, they were really bad last week. And by the way, hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I love you guys. I think I forgot. Nope. But Genesis was really bad last week, and they had hired a firm to explore their options, which means we're like an email away from bankruptcy. But they haven't filed yet. They're still clinging to life. And along with Genesis goes Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC. We don't know what the state is of things over there. Still trading at a massive, massive discount to the value of the Bitcoin that is supposedly held in that trust. And, of course, the parent company of that is Digital Currency Group. And if Genesis goes down, it looks like Digital Currency will go back. They'll go bankrupt also. They've been lending money back and forth to each other, which my moderator, Mish, has described as the incestuous relationship among most of these firms where they borrow and sell and steal back and forth from each other. Nobody really knows what money is out there. And speaking of my man, Mish, let's bring Mish in and let's talk to him about what is going on today. Mish, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. It is icy and cold here. Walked outside and went, oh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the polar vortex is back. I am not a meteorologist. This is not meteorological advice and all that other stuff. But double blocking is the phrase I'm hearing thrown around in weather. And what it means is big chunks of really cold air coming here to the States and to Europe. Watch those energy prices, Europe. Keep an eye on that. I'm hearing things. Nothing I'm going to hash out on the stream, but look, we know the energy situation over in Europe is rather doo-doo at the moment, and a big icy snap is not going to help. That's for sure. All right. So with that, let's shrink my big melon, and let's look at some of the stuff going on in the world today. Before we get into the indexes, I saw this one on Twitter. The inverse Kramer ETF strikes again. If you guys are not already following the inverse Kramer ETF on Twitter, I highly recommend you do so. Look at this image. Jim Cramer put this one up back on the 15th of November. He says, I love Pomp, but he put me in BlockFi. Well, Jim, I bet that sucks. When somebody recommends something that ends up being a really, really bad investment and you follow them into it. I bet that really sucks, Jim. Really, my heart weeps for you. When he talks about Pomp, he's talking about Anthony Pompliano, this guy who was pumping BlockFi big time, left and right. And look, folks, I'm going to talk about this story because guys like Kramer, guys like Pomp, and I'll say it, guys like me, all right? Don't just blindly follow some of these personalities, and I use the term loosely. Don't just follow people blindly into trades. All right? I say it all the time on this channel. Do your own research, your own DD. Challenge my thinking. All right? If you're trading just because of what some guy on YouTube said or this guy, right, you're doing it wrong. All right? I'm just a source of information. All right? I spend all day gathering news. reviewing things, studying charts, and I talk about what I see. All right. I don't make recommendations. That I talk about what I do with my own money. All right. If I'm out there talking about a stock, I'll mention if I own it or if I don't own it. But look, don't just follow somebody in like that. You got to be careful. And let me just say, cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, two different things. All right. Bitcoin does not require cheerleaders. Bitcoin does not require leaders at all. Bitcoin is just code. It just is. It doesn't need guys like this. It doesn't need Michael Saylor saying mortgage your house and buy Bitcoin. All right. And I can tell you when it comes to BlockFi, there was a lot of people out there, a lot of people who, based on the content that they put out, I know these people knew BlockFi was too good to be true. Just like I knew BlockFi was too good to be true. Because what BlockFi was promising doesn't exist. The kind of returns and the kind of rewards and the interest rates that BlockFi was giving you while telling you there was no risk, you can't get that. You can't get an 8, 10, 15% return without taking risk. All right. And they were promising you 8 to 15% returns while telling you it was no risk. And what did I say over and over and over again throughout 2021 and throughout this year? When somebody promises you a risk-free 15% return, run. Do not walk. Run for the excess. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. All right. And people whose content I enjoy, people who you can tell by the way they talk and the things they say that these are intelligent people who are well-versed in matters of finance, were pumping BlockFi on their viewers knowing it was too good to be true because they had dollar signs in their eyes. All right. A lot of people did that. All right.
I think it's important to note here is, you're talking about that 10 to 15%. And there's only one way they were going to get that. You talked about the risk, but they had to invest the people's money that were given to them in risky things. So it goes on that, if you're going to get 10%, that means they need to make 15%. If you're going to get 15%, they need to make 20%. There's only one game that was giving that kind of, well, two games actually, high yield junk out of China, and then the incestuous relationship between each other paying each other the money. So it's a big circle. Well, when you have a big circle like that, as soon as that circle breaks, everything around that break starts rotting, and it's like going around the circle rotting as it goes.
Yeah. And look, I have Pompliano's face up here right now because he was one of the more vocal cheerleaders out there. All right. He's not the only one that did this. All right. A lot of guys on YouTube, a lot of guys in FinTwit, a lot of guys, everybody was posting their affiliate links to BlockFi. All right. And hey, look down in the description of this stream. You're going to see affiliate links. All right. I have a couple of affiliate links. I can tell you I'm very, very careful who I hitch my cart to when it comes to affiliate programs and when it comes to advertising. All right. I am very careful. All right. I spent 15 years in nuclear power, and there's one thing about people who work in nuclear power. Mitch will attest to this. They are very careful people. You should be happy that if you live near a nuclear plant. All right. I don't take a risk like that. I'm careful with my own risk, let alone a risk on someone else's behalf. And I can tell you this, folks, I leave way more money on the table doing this than I take in. Way more. All right. There's a reason why you see very few up in the bottom corner or left, wherever it appears, includes paid promotion in my videos. Not that I'll never do that. All right. I have done one or two paid promotions before, but I'm very careful who I take money from because of this. All right. So just remember that. Keep that in mind when you're following these people. All right. And I have no problem with somebody making money. All right. I am in this to make money. I'll flat out say it. This is now my job. All right. I am not against making money. Yay, capitalism. I love capitalism. I love the free markets. All right. But I'm very careful how I make my money. All right. Because if you promote garbage like this, you're not going to last. And I want to do this for the rest of my life. I freaking love doing this. And pumping BlockFi, who promises a risk-free 15% return, is not going to last. I knew it wasn't going to last a year ago. And I got a lot of comments from people. Jack, what do you think about staking? Or Jack, what do you think about decentralized finance? My answer was the same every time. If you see a risk-free 15% return, run. I would even clip in the Monty Python guys saying, run away, or the Dr. Sadler from Jurassic Park, run. I have those clips saved in my little B-roll file when I do my videos because I was using them so often. Run when you
How
see
many
that
times
return.
were you told have fun being poor?
Yeah, I don't like that arrogance, and I see that back and forth. I see that on all sides. Like, look, if somebody doesn't like an investment that you like, okay, it's not a personal affront. It's not an insult to you. They just don't think the same way you do. Oh my God. You don't drop a comment like, have fun staying poor. Like, things that didn't age well for 1,000, Alex.
Well, that's an emotional response. You're trying to get an emotional response. And anytime you have to get an emotional response to say or have someone change their mind, it's a dirty-handed tactic.
It's also another indicator that, hey, maybe you ought to be more careful in the space.
Yeah.
If it's reaching that degree.
Mike gave us a super chat.
Yeah. And Mike, I don't recognize all the names, or is this just one very long name? Is this like, hello, my name is Indigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die? Is that who that is? Carlo, Pietro, Giovanni, Guillermo, Teblado. What's that, Mish?
Carlo, Pietro, Giovanni, Guglielmo, Tebaldo.
Yeah, your Italian accent is commendable, Mish. I do recognize that last name, though, Ponzi. That one jumps out at me. Are these all famous scam artists, I wonder? Or is this all just one very long name for Mr. Ponzi? Like the who was the Latin American journalist in Married with Children? Miranda Veracruz de la Hoya Cardenal.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd used to go nuts every time she came on. That's a long name. But yeah, these are, you can add Pompliano to that list. You can add Kramer to that list. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't think Kramer and Pompliano were outright scam artists, but they're showboats. They're in show business, and I don't think they were entirely upfront with where their interests lie. All right. And in this space, that's important. I think you should be upfront with your interests lie. I'll always tell you guys when I'm using an affiliate link, which means I am making money if you click on it and use it. I will always tell you that. And I'll tell you, I'm very careful who I take sponsorships from because I don't want to get caught up in this crap. So take that for what it's worth. And there is Mr. Steve Woitas. And thank you, Mike. Thanks again, sir, for the super chat, for the support of the channel. And thank you, Steve, for the super chat. He says, here's to NSF. Hey, that's me. Financial analysis and commentary for the little guy. Thank you. I'll take that. I like that. The little guy is kind of a little like, Kramer likes to say like he's on the side of the little guy, which is a joke. I don't think Kramer's on the side of the little guy. All right, little guy's a little overused. All right, and I don't really consider myself the little guy. I'd say I probably live better than most, not all, and I could say there are many, many who live better than me. But I think there's probably a lot of folks would probably roll their eyes if I claim to be the little guy. I'm not afraid to get my own hands dirty. Like, I can tell you that. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm that little guy, or, like Brandon claiming to be the co-worker who grew up in 5 different neighborhoods, depending on which ethnicity he's talking to that day. No. I had a comfortable middle class upbringing. My parents worked really hard. God bless them. Love you guys. And now I live a very comfortable lifestyle, and this is my job. I got it pretty good. So I have no business calling myself the little guy. But thank you.
I would like for someone to understand something about Jack. Jack is the most frugal person I know. So just put that out there.
It's a kind way of saying I'm cheap AF. I'm so cheap.
Frugal's a better word.
It's kinder, but you're being polite. I'm cheap. And I'm going to hear Gigi in the other rooms going, yep, he sure is, sooner or later. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. But yes, I am very, very frugal. All right, guys, let's get into, oh boy, who we got? EC660. Man, you usually drop these right at the end of the show, EC. He says, so this is live. Yes, we are live, EC660. Thank you very much, sir, for your support of the channel, and you did catch me live. by the way, when I'm live, guys, if you see right above my head here, I'll put that little live icon so you know this is a live stream. But sometimes a live stream, it's still there when you're watching it recorded. But some people have trouble differentiating between a live stream and a video premiere. This is an actual live stream. Thank you, EC660. Appreciate the support of the channel, sir. You are a gentleman and a scholar. All right, let's take a trip through the indexes. The markets are open, so we're going to close the futures, and we are going to go right to the indexes. S&P is down about 2 points, pretty much flat for the day, with the Dow is down also about 2 points, flat for the day. And the NASDAQ is...
The Dow just opened a minute ago, so I expect it to get to about -75 in about 60 seconds.
-75 in 60 seconds. That is an awful specific. We'll see. All right, 9:32. Somebody keep Mish honest here. See if we get to his -75 in 60 seconds. And the NASDAQ is up 8 or just a fraction of a percent. So stocks not doing a heck of a lot this morning. Commodities, well, my thing's updating here. We got pretty much green across the board in commodities. Gold up $5, 0.3%. Silver's up a quarter or 1.15%. We got a little bit of red on platinum there, but it's only a couple of cents. I'm not terribly surprised by that. Oil at $78.90. Oil has been interesting lately. We've got a lot going on in the oil markets. There's a lot of talk about these protests in China and the zero COVID and all that other stuff. I hope I didn't just get myself shadow banned. But
there is a large organization that's trying to get rid of certain hot topics as being buzzwords. So I think they're going to start coming off of certain things, and COVID might be one of them.
Oh, you think the FEW backwards? Is that what we're talking about?
No. I'm talking about a little bird that was bought by a gentleman.
Oh, a little bird told me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were talking about Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno. Jack gets shadow banned when we talk about Bruno. But oil, oil's looking pretty good right now. And by the way, we are just 5-6 days away. December 4th is the next OPEC Plus meeting. I do not think OPEC is going to sit around with a 7 handle on oil prices. I think there's another production cut coming. I think we're probably going to start hearing about it within the next few days. I doubt we're going to be surprised by it on December 4th, which means within a day or two that you'll start to hear whispers about a production cut. Whether it's going to be a few 100,000 barrels or 1 million barrels or another 2 million barrels, we'll see. But it would not surprise me. I don't think oil is going to stay in the 70s for long. Also, another reason why I think we're, at least at the moment, we had a lot of green a second ago. The dollar was lower for most of the morning. Now it's a little bit in the green at 106.77. And most trades at this point are basically dollar trades, folks. Dollar go higher, things go lower. Dollar go lower, things go higher. I mean, we've been seeing that for a while. So we will keep an eye on that one. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of what's going on today. And the big one was BlockFi, right? BlockFi came yesterday. They officially filed for bankruptcy. BlockFi bankruptcy hijacks more customer cash. The troubled lender filed for bankruptcy on Monday, the latest worry for users of the platform. Bad news just keeps coming for retail traders with money on crypto platforms. In the wake of FTX's rapid downfall, BlockFi Inc. became the latest crypto lender to file for bankruptcy. The New Jersey-based company had warned customers more than 2 weeks ago that it would halt withdrawals, and now traders have to wait out the bankruptcy process to see if they can get any of their money back. And folks, that can take months, if not years, to get your money back through the bankruptcy process. So if you haven't already, for the love of Pete, for the love of God, mother of pearl, get your coins off the exchanges. If you still have any coin, any cryptocurrency, get it off the exchange. All right. Do not leave your coins on the exchange. All right. And by the way, this is where is it? No, that's the stupid bank. There we go. Exeter's Pyramid. We've been showing this a lot on this channel lately, right? If you have your coins, if you own Bitcoin on a crypto exchange, you're up here in the red. That's where your money is. The riskiest derivative product, because if you have cryptocurrency on an exchange or Bitcoin on an exchange, that means you are an unsecured creditor of some very shady people who are going bankrupt left and right. Now, when you take your coins and you move them off the exchange and into a wallet that you control, you take that asset and you move it down Exeter's pyramid. It's no longer an unfunded liability of some shady people. You're moving it all the way down. And Mish and I were talking about this right before the stream. I believe you're moving it just above paper money. When you pull your coins off the exchange, you go from the very, very upper tippy top of default risk in the derivatives area all the way down, in my opinion, just above paper money. And Mish, you had a pretty good point. We were trying to decide where would we put Bitcoin. Now, I want to emphasize Bitcoin, not altcoins, not garbage tokens, Bitcoin. Where would you put it on this pyramid and why, Mish?
Well, I think that we need to talk about how you obtain something. And the only way to obtain Bitcoin is through fiat currency right now. No one, yes, there are some people, onesie, twosies here and there that are paid in Bitcoin, but they are paid a salary, and then that salary is converted to Bitcoin, and then you give them the Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is still a derivative of fiat right now until people are paid in Bitcoin and you can go buy something in Bitcoin without having to transfer through a fiat currency. It's a derivative of fiat, so it needs to be above fiat.
And I've been struggling with this. That was an excellent point, Mish. And I've been struggling with this for a couple of weeks. Where on Exeter's pyramid would I put Bitcoin in your own custody, your own custodial wallet? And I was about to put it below paper money. I'll get to why in a second. But Mish made a really good point right in the stream, right before we started this stream. And he said, well, you still need to buy fiat first before you can get any cryptocurrency, unless like you're going to sell your eggs from your backyard chicken flock for Bitcoin, which great if you can do that. You got to find a buyer who's willing to do it and settle on a price in Bitcoin. But for the most part, you're right. Bitcoin right now is deriving its value based on the movement of the dollar. It makes it kind of a derivative of the dollar and therefore above paper money on Exeter's pyramid. So that was an awesome point you made this morning, Mish, and I would agree. I would put Bitcoin right above the green as far as where it goes.
Point here for people. I use Swan. I know Jack uses Swan. I know there's several people in chat that use Swan. I have it set up to where it gets to a certain amount, it automatically goes to my wallet. I do not keep it on Swan. I move it off as soon as possible. So,
and that's one of the reasons why Swan is one of the few affiliate programs that I work with, because Swan encourages you to do that. They tell you get your coins off our exchange. All right, Swan doesn't offer any lending. They don't deal in junk coins. They don't have their own token that they're pumping on investors, offering you yielding or staking. They do only Bitcoin, and they tell you get it off our exchange. They make it easy for you to get it off their exchange. I like. By the way, I'm going to be on Swan's Twitter Space on Thursday. Take a look for that. Swan does they do Bitcoin Cafe every weekday, and I will be on Thursday. They asked me to come on, so I'm looking forward to doing that. Thank you, Mike Robin again from Robin RC Model says, instead of saying not financial advice, yada yada yada, do your own research. Just say chances are this will leave you without a penny to your name. I hate soft language. Well, I hate the CYA stuff as much as the next guy, and that's why I always say CYMA, because that's what I'm doing. I don't mind, putting it in there. But, lawyers ruin everything, Mike. And we live in a litigious society, and unfortunately you have to do this crap. And I'm not a fan of it, but you have to state the obvious over and over and over again. Is what it is, man. This will leave you without a penny to your name. I hate that's a bit much, but
can you spell litigious?
No, I cannot spell litigious. Litigious. I was told there would be no spelling when I got into this gig. Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate the super chat. And I see the King of Money. Hello, King of Money. Next is Crypto.com. I would not be terribly surprised. By the way, Crypto.com, aren't they the owner of owned by Circle and USDC? Is that Crypto.com? Or I might be mixing them up. But in the meantime,
Circle owns USDC.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's the true
okay. So Crypto.com is not related to Circle then. That was me getting my crypto wires crossed. I apologize. He says, but in the meantime, I'm working on my next vid, FTX 6.9. Oh boy, that's a mouthful. I'll send you a pic on Twitter and Discord. All right, Your Majesty, the King of Money from Dumb Money Media. Thank you very much for the super chat, and good luck with the next vid. And
So if you go into our Discord, we do host other channels. Dumb Money Media is one of them. We also host Chris, financial prepper, will pop in periodically, and if Neil ever comes on there, he'll probably get a channel himself too.
yeah. Oh, and by the way, I keep forgetting. Above my pay grade. We are going to get together and we are going to do this thing. I'm going to do a video with Above My Pay Grade soon. Guys, I was gnawing on a bone yesterday, something I just cannot put down. Hopefully more I can say about it in the future. But I'm working on something that's taking up a lot of time, and it's really distracting the heck out of me. It's why there was no video yesterday. But I'm working on something. I'm not sure if it's big or not. It might be. That's all I can say about it. But Above My Pay Grade, I know you're out there. Join my Discord if you're out there, and we are going to be talking to Above My Pay Grade probably about the auto market very soon. So,
no, Above My Pay Grade on there too.
What's that? He's on Discord also. Good.
Yep.
I personally am rather Discord illiterate. I pop in from time to time and usually make some kind of error and embarrass myself, and then Mish makes fun of me later on for it. But Discord is so awesome as far as sourcing information for content. It's this intelligence network that just funnels information to the channel. It really is great. If you want to be part of shaping what we talk about here on the channel, the Discord is a fantastic way to do that. So thank you very much, Dumb Money Media, for the super chat and the support of the channel, sir. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about Exeter's Pyramid and about why I was struggling with where I would put Bitcoin, which Mish correctly said above paper money. I think that's accurate. But I want to show you another picture here. And that is, you're probably familiar with this. This is written on every dollar bill. Every 20, 100. It says, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. All right. Now, there's this little experiment going on by the New York Fed where they are doing a pilot program exploring the feasibility of a central bank digital currency. Which, who are they kidding? We all know they are going to push a CBDC on us at some point, which you should resist with every fiber of your being if and when they do that. They are going to try to force us onto their money that they can control and switch on and off anytime they want to. All right. Now, if they do push us and try to force us onto a central bank digital currency, then we're going to go from this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private, to this note is legal tender for debts we allow you to use it for when we deem it appropriate. In other words, if they force us on a central bank digital currency, they will be defaulting on paper money, won't they? They will be breaking their promise that it's legal tender for all debts, public and private. They will be defaulting on paper money. So paper money right now, I would say, has a very real risk of default in the not too near future. It is a non-zero risk. It's actually much higher than most things I would describe as non-zero, because they're test running it right now. They're pretending it's a test, but they're working the kinks out. They're going there. The IMF has promised to do this. Jabba the Hutt, that disgusting, revolting Augustin Carstens, who is the very personification of what we should hate about these people. Like, talk about bad optics. Okay, move on. They are trying to default on paper money in order to control inflation, because they'll be able to switch it off and say, no, you know what, Jack and Mish, you guys have used too much gasoline this week. We're turning off your money, and that way they can still consume as much as they want without the prices going going crazy and everybody going up in arms. Well, if your money can be turned off whenever they feel like it, it's no longer legal tender for all debts, public and private. It is defaulted on. So the CBDC will be a default of paper money. And that the government is trying to move paper money up Exeter's pyramid. So when that happens, it won't affect Bitcoin. Bitcoin's counterparty risk will not be affected by that, although they will switch off your ability probably to trade paper money for Bitcoin once they do that, which will mean you'll have to go get Bitcoin by some other means. That may be what finally breaks the link between Bitcoin and the dollar, is the central bank digital currency. But the fact that they're rolling towards central bank digital currencies is one of the reasons why I'm having a very hard time placing Bitcoin on Exeter's pyramid right now. But I think, Mish, you hit the nail on the head. You're right on the money when you said Bitcoin belongs just above paper money, and that's where I would put it. And just the act of pulling your Bitcoin off the exchange and putting it into your own custody for the price of a transaction fee, you go from the riskiest asset possible all the way down to among the safest assets. That doesn't mean it can't go down in value. All right, I'm not talking about number go up, number go down. I'm talking about risk of default, risk of it going to zero.
So that's a good point on people that are now starting to get into this, because we are starting to see lower levels here. And, you need to understand how it works, how wallet works, how to transfer money back and forth, and watch the transfer fee. It can get really expensive if you're not paying attention to it.
Yep. Do a little bit of research on the time of day, the time of the week, when to move it. I mean, it can make a big difference if you move it in the middle of the night on a Wednesday versus, lunchtime Thursday. It can be a big difference. So put a little DD into it. Zarkos, thank you very much. He says, just to say hello and support the channel. Always a pleasure to watch your very interesting videos. Well, thank you, Zarkos. Appreciate that very much. Both the kind words and the support of the channel, sir. Cheers, mate. And I saw somebody else in there. M&J. What's going on, M&J? He says, oh, look at you. Wow. M&J says, giving me a super chat to promote my Patreon. Do I have the best mods or what? Wow. Thank you, M&J. I appreciate that. He says, M&J says there is also a Patreon where you can talk to Jack and Mish directly. And there's a link there in the super chat. That link you will find down below. And I should mention one of the ways that I am able to turn down all of these less than ideal people who propose advertising on my channel. And one of the reasons why I'm able to not use these shady DeFi platform affiliate programs is because of the support I get on Patreon. So thank you very much, M&J, for that. It does preserve the independence of the channel. So thank you guys for that. We get together every Wednesday on a Zoom call for Patreon, and it is a back and forth. It's not just me shouting into the ether. It's a two-way communication platform. We do that once a week on Wednesdays. Guys, I haven't posted the link for the meeting tomorrow yet, but that will be coming up in the next few minutes. Thank you very much, M&J. I appreciate that. Appreciate the support of the channel. By the way, the Patreon guys do a lot also for influencing the channel. A lot of the emails and the messages I get in Patreon, they inform the direction the channel moves in. So thank you guys for that.
So yeah, it's like a tiered approach there. Tier 1 being, we use a lot of Patreon. We also use tier 2, which is Discord. And then tier 3 is our chat. So you can insert yourself anywhere in there, and it helps us form the channel. We get a lot of information out of Discord.
I can tell you guys, I try to answer every email I get on every platform, and I try to answer every comment. It is an impossible task. There just are not enough hours in the day. Patreon, I'm still at a point where I can answer every single message I get on Patreon. All right, so thank you guys for that, and that is my highest priority because of everything you guys do for the channel. You get my time first. Let's put it that way. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. And Dan Hedin says, when the IMF talks CBDC, all I hear is blah, 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 blah. I'm a dirty tramp. Bonus if Jack knows the movie. Blah, blah, blah. I'm a dirty tramp. Is that a Billy Madison reference?
Who was it?
Billy Madison, maybe? When they were doing My Wife the Tramp was his. Will Ferrell, Anchorman. Is that what that is?
Yeah, I think it is. That's when they're talking at the desk there.
Oh, did somebody just get me with a movie quote and I didn't know it? Oh man, Dan, you may be the first. I am well versed in matters of cinema, as you may know.
It was Mr. Deeds.
Mr. Deeds said that one. Okay. Blah blah blah. That's interesting. Mr. Deeds was a good movie. I feel you are underestimating the sneakiness, sir. I am very sneaky. That was a good flick. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. And yes, when I hear Augustin Karsten's talk, I don't hear blah, blah, blah. I'm a dirty tramp. I hear ho, ho, ho. That's my Jabba the Hutt impression, by the way. Ho, ho, ho. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the IMF and Augustin Karsten's. They are just, yeah. That's about all I got to say about that. All right, moving on. Let's talk about some more of these outfits going bye-bye. Here's BitFront. This is on watcher.guru, which is one of the outfits I follow on Twitter. This one came up today. BitFront crypto exchange will soon close its doors. And maybe you're like me. You're saying, who TF is BitFront? I have never heard of this outfit. Well, apparently they're a thing. Looks like the FTX contagion isn't going to stop anytime soon, despite occurring several days ago. FTX's liquidity crisis continues to cause harm to other platforms, while some were directly affected by the collapse. Blah, blah, blah. Therefore, platforms like BitFront decided to take another route and exit the market. A prominent U.S.-based crypto exchange backed by Line Corp. Line is the Japanese social media messaging service. They're making headlines because they announced that they will be shutting down their shop. The crypto exchange reveals it would be permanently closing by March of 2023. So BitFront has gone bye-bye. Now, the word bankruptcy didn't appear in here. There was nothing about freezing withdrawals or anything like that. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point, but they will be shutting down. So customers of BitFront, beware. And again, if you've been watching this channel by now, you have gotten your Bitcoin off the exchanges. So this probably doesn't affect you, right? All right. So BitFront, who I've never heard of. Bye-bye, BitFront. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this one. Hong Kong crypto exchange, AAX. We talked about them a few weeks ago in a live stream when they went down for a system upgrade. Uh-oh. And I've made fun of these guys so many times. Like, isn't it funny how they always have maintenance issues or system upgrades right about the time liquidity gets tight? Isn't that interesting? Just like those Chinese banks that went down for a system upgrade in Hunan province, and whoops, they failed. Yeah, about that. Well, AAX personnel are incommunicado after the exchange froze withdrawals and deleted social media pages, revealing Hong Kong's exposure to the FTX fallout. The exchange's former research head resigned this week, saying the company was being overly opaque and handling things without empathy. And I've also heard that the executives have taken the money and run. Whoops. So if you have your money in AAX, looks like it's gone. All right. Now this is in Hong Kong is where this one is based. And again, this is one I hadn't even heard of until a couple of days ago. Hong Kong Crypto Exchange has become the latest casualty of FTX's collapse this month. And by the way, this is in every article. They talk about the latest casualty of FTX. No. FTX is just exposing risky behavior by these funds. All right. They are not casualties of FTX. These are not victims. These are people who misrepresented the risk to their customers, took their customers' money, took unnecessary risk with it, where they saw all the benefits and the customers got none of the benefits, even though the customers were footing the bill for all the risk. And now, because of FTX failure, the tide is withdrawing, and all of these, at best, moral hazards are being exposed, at worst, outright scams, and they're failing one by one. All right, and to come back to the pyramid, I've talked about this on this channel a lot. Nope, wrong picture again. Right now, the crypto exchanges, they are the upper echelon of Exeter's pyramid. Derivatives, unfunded liabilities. They won't be the last. It's starting in crypto. We have tighter monetary policy. I did a video a few weeks ago, or it was last week, about how Jerome Powell is really the guy who's causing the crypto collapses. Not that these frauds weren't there all along, but it's what Jerome Powell is doing that is exposing them, because he's making money more scarce and he's raising interest rates, and that causes debt-based frauds to be exposed. Just like Bernie Madoff was exposed during the GFC. The same thing. This is no different. It's just wearing a different uniform this time. That's all that's going on here. And I think I am a little backed up. Did I miss somebody? I've got Mr. Cormac Kilroy says, thank you very much, Cormac. Mish, can you make sure I didn't miss anybody before Cormac?
Okay.
He says, is CBDC a new form of communism?
Okay.
This is interesting.
So while he's breathing there, let me talk about communism for a second.
Okay.
Communism, socialism, and capitalism are economic systems, right? So for it to be communistic, it would have to be a form of everybody is the same, right? Everybody shares. And while I agree with Mr. Cormac, I think everybody needs to understand, though, that forms of government are not forms of in economic systems. That's my soapbox.
So let me let me give my take on this. And Cormac, that was a really good question. All right, and I've never thought about this until now. The If you talk to a communist, all right, which hold your nose if you ever do talk to an actual communist, they will tell you that communism means worker ownership of the means of production. That's their little Marxist academia definition of communism. All right. Worker ownership of the means of production. All right. In reality, workers never own anything. All right. That's not how any system works. Economic systems, wherever it is, right, it is human nature for the rich and powerful to prey on the weak. That is human. It's a human quality. It's not a capitalist or a communist or a socialist or a monarchist attribute. It's a human thing. All right. So in reality, you go from worker ownership of the means of production. In practice, it is government ownership of the means of production. That's communism. In practice, the government owns everything, and therefore the government distributes everything, and therefore you get what the government gives you. Now, I would say what a central bank digital currency ends up giving you is government ownership of the means of consumption, not production. The other side. Now the government controls not what is produced, but what is consumed, because they can say your money is programmed to only allow you to buy so much food and only so much fuel, and you can only pay this much for rent, and we can switch it off whenever we want. That's government control of the means of consumption, which, if you ask me, yes, that meets the definition of communism. Yes, it does. I really do think. And Mish is right. Communism is an economic model. It's not necessarily a government. But yes, CBDCs, if the government does with them what I think they will inevitably do, it will be a leap towards communism, government control of the means of consumption. So, slightly different angle, the other side of the equation instead of production, consumption. But yeah, I think that's accurate. That was a really good question, Cormac. And thank you very much for the super chat, sir, and the support of the channel. And Mr. Troy Rhodes says, ever heard of Exodus Wallet? No, I have not. If so, what are your thoughts? I've never heard of Exodus Wallet. Look, there's a couple of different wallet options out there. There are software wallets, like apps you can download on your phone, where your wallet is on your crypto is on your phone. Your private keys are held on your phone, which means your phone becomes your wallet. And if you lose your phone and you lose your recovery phrase, your crypto is gone forever. And then there are hardware wallets, which I don't have my hardware wallet handy here, but a hardware wallet looks usually like a thumb drive. All right. Your private keys are stored on that hardware wallet, and therefore that is where your crypto is stored. Your crypto never actually gets placed anywhere. Crypto exists in the ether, right? It's software code. It's the private keys. It's where are the private keys located. That's what determines what type of wallet you have. I don't know what Exodus is. It sounds like it's a software wallet, which software wallets are safer than leaving your coins on the exchange, but they are less safe than a hardware wallet. And hardware wallet, they cost money. So they're, the one that I used at the time, it was like $150 that I paid for it. I use a Ledger Nano X. Again, affiliate link down below. I'll always tell you when I use affiliate links, but that's the wallet that I use for my coins. That is a cold storage wallet, is the safest means where you can store your Bitcoin. All right. So that's what I use. I'm not sure if Exodus is software or hardware, but I would recommend, if personal use, what I use is a hardware wallet. So that's my take. Thank you, Troy Rhodes. Sorry, I haven't heard of Exodus specifically, but there are a lot of wallet options out there. And
so Exodus is a software wallet.
Okay.
It's online with Trust and Atomic.
An online software wallet?
No. It's the same level of, say, Exodus, Trust, Atomic. They're all kind of the same level.
Oh, in line. Yeah, I got you. Yep. Yeah. So at that point, your private keys become stored on your phone, and therefore it is only as secure as your phone is. So that's something to consider. I would say that is a safer option than leaving them on Coinbase or leaving them on BlockFi or FTX, certainly, but less secure than a hardware wallet. All right. If what I do personally, all I can tell you is what I do with mine. I keep mine on a hardware wallet. All right, so we've talked about all the failed exchanges here. Real quick, I want to get into something. We're getting a little long in the tooth, but I want to talk about this. All right. There is a link in the description to this live stream to this Twitter space that Mario Nawfal hosted with Janvier or Janvier, however you pronounce his name, Shalapin. He is the chief technology officer and head of nepotism at Moonstone Bank. Janvier Shalapin is the son of Jean Shalapin, who just happens to be the COO of Deltec, the head bank for Tether and FTX, who bought Farmington Bank. We did the live stream Friday all about Farmington Bank, the little hashtag shed bank, right? This is Farmington Bank. By the way, I want to send a thank you to a viewer who actually took a ride out there and verified that this building does exist. Thank you to that viewer for doing this. I really appreciate the effort to put in. And he went in there. He's like, yeah, there was, excuse me, no media vans, no press was there. Very quiet, sleepy. There was a little bit of activity inside. And, they also verified, the post office in town was open. And he said that was basically all of the activity in town. There was a person inside the bank and the post office was open. That was it. All right, to say this town is sleepy is putting it mildly. Again, folks, not knocking rural America here, just to say, this is a town where nothing ever happens. And a lot of people who live in towns where nothing ever happens like it that way. All right, so it's a way of life. I kind of live that way myself, so not knocking it. All right. But for whatever reason, Jean Shalapin of Deltec Bank, which is based in the Bahamas, and they're the bank for Tether, they're the bank for FTX, they bought that little shed of a bank and rebranded it Moonstone Bank. And Janvier went on this Twitter space with Mario Norwal, whoever, who hosted it. And my God, look, I don't watch a lot of professional sports. I have not watched a play of football all year. I haven't seen a baseball game in years, right? I played sports when I was a kid, but I don't have time for professional sports anymore. And Gigi was telling me the other day how she liked that I don't watch that much sports. That's great. But I was listening to this Twitter space, and I was jumping out of my seat, cheering, clapping out loud, they got him, they go, oh my God. And I looked over at Gigi and I said, this is me watching sports, honey. Because my God, this was so amazing. Chet Long is the name of one of Mario Nawfal's associates, and he grilled Janvier Shalapin like you wouldn't believe. All right, now I took some notes. This is a 2.5-hour stream, Twitter Spaces. The juicy part starts right around the 34-minute mark. They talk about the protests in China for about a half hour before they get to this. All right, and I can tell you, I made a couple of highlights here.
Before you get too far into it, my favorite quote of that is when they ask him how they came up with $100 million valuation. It's because of the building is 100 years old. I am not kidding.
Yeah, at 37 minutes and 30 seconds, roughly, they're asking about the $115 million valuation for a bank that at the time had $5.7 million in deposits. And he said the building had a lot of historic value. Look at all that history. Did George Washington make those cinder blocks? If not, that valuation doesn't smell right. Sorry, Janvier. I award you no points. Everyone on that space is now dumber having listened to that response. Who knows that movie? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, at 37:30, he said the building had a ton of historic value. Okay. Now, even before he got to the historic value of the building, Janvier Shalapin was talking for all of 10 seconds before he told his first blatant lie. He couldn't get 10 seconds into this speech of his without lying. He starts talking at 35:38. By 35:48, he says his first lie. When he said his father Jean, that he's a shareholder in both Deltec Bank and Moonstone Bank, and that was the limit of his father's participation. That there was no conflict of interest. He's just a common shareholder in both banks. That's all. And then he went on for the next hour and a half to describe how his father is the chairman of Deltec and the chairman of Farmington State Bank, that he owns 90% of the equity in Farmington State Bank, that it was his networking and his connections, and he set up all the meetings, and he arranged for the pitch to FTX. I mean, he spent an hour and a half talking about how his father runs everything at this bank, even though he started the whole speech by talking about how, oh, my father's just a shareholder in both banks, and that's the limit of his involvement. So he couldn't get 10 seconds into this space without blatantly lying. So that was the first thing. And then he would both contradict that dozens of times and then repeat that lie later on. Also, some highlights. At the 48-minute, roughly, these are rough timestamps, around 48:30, he said there was no federal regulator approval required for the purchase of this bank. He said this several times. All they did was notify the regulators that Alameda, this hedge fund in the Bahamas, bought the 10% stake in the bank. All they did was notify. There was no approval. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not legal advice, not legal all that. But how does a foreign hedge fund take a 10% stake in a bank, increasing its valuation 20-fold, and there's no regulator approval process? Okay. Moving on. At the 1 hour, 8-minute mark, right around there, he's asked, who is the current CEO? And the answer was the current CEO is Gary Reaver, and that the prior CEO had left the bank 3 months ago, even though the prior CEO's name is still listed on the website as the CEO of the bank. Now, he has been talking for a half hour now about how this Moonstone Bank is this next level bank for B2B transactions and crypto and fintech and all this buzzword. And he had no answer for how come it took them more than 3 months to update the name of the CEO on their website. Oh,
what I found interesting is they don't have one person on their staff for Moonstone that actually does fintech. They do regulatory work, but there's no one that is a leader in technology. And then it comes out to they're not even there for technology. They just want to be the bank.
And Mitch, that is perfect segue into the next highlight of this. At the 1 hour, 17-minute, roughly 30-second mark, he was asked, who did you pitch the idea to at Alameda Research? The idea of taking a stake in this bank. And he said it was pitched to the legal team at Alameda. Not to the CFO, not to the CEO, not to the chief investment officer, which they were all kids anyway. But no, they pitched the idea to their lawyers. And then to your point, Mish, go look at the LinkedIn for every member of Moonstone Bank, assuming they haven't scrubbed their LinkedIn pages by now, which a lot of them are doing. Every single employee of that bank has a background in financial crimes, law enforcement, regulation, compliance. There is not one person who spent one working day at PayPal or Square or Block or Venmo or any of the actual fintech companies. There is zero fintech experience. They're all regulators and compliance officers. They stacked the team. And then they pitched the idea to the legal team at Alameda, which just goes to show you my initial reaction was 100% correct to this. They bought this bank because it was a pre-existing set of licenses and compliance. They bought this bank, this shed bank, giving it a $115 million valuation because it makes their crime look legal. That's what they were doing. And the fact that they pitched this idea not to their investment people, not to their CEO or COO, they pitched it to their lawyers is a dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. And the fact that the whole staff at this bank, they're all compliance people. Dead giveaway. And that was the highlight. By the way, the last thing I want to point at is around the 2 hour and 17 mark. Javier Shalapin said several times that their focus was on the Farmington community and addressing the concerns of the community. He mentioned the community so many times. Go Cougs.
Outside of the owner of the bank's name, I doubt he could name one other person in that town.
Yep.
I know 7 or 8 people in that town now.
More on that to come. If you want to know why there wasn't a video yesterday, Mish and I are gnawing on this bone, folks, and we will have more information to come on this hopefully very soon. But we're being very careful. Let's put it that way. Anyways, there is a link in the description if you want to watch this 2-hour legal and public relations unmitigated disaster that happened on this Twitter space. And shout out to Chet Long. Like, Mario Nawfal was lobbing softballs. Like, what a joke what Mario Nawfal was saying. He's like, Javier, you're a rock star. You're doing great. They love you. The audience is digging this. You're so awesome for coming on. Like, my God, gag me with that. Javier Shalapin is a crook and a liar, and he's a scumbag. All right, I'll just say it. He's an outright scumbag. Hi, Javier, if you're watching, you scumbag. You were helping to rip off millions of people who are a lot poorer than you. You're a scumbag. And Chet Long was grilling him. And I was sitting, I swear to God, this is me watching sports. That's why I said it to Gigi. I'm like, he got him. Yes, he just said he pitched it to the legal team. It was like watching the Super Bowl for me. It really was. And again, I haven't watched a play of professional sports in a long time. I was cheering out loud for this. I was sending it to Mish. Mish, I tweeted this year. I was like, this is content goldmine right here. And I can tell you, if the goal of Javier Shalapin going on this space was to clear the air or to assure people that nothing nefarious was going on at Moonstone Bank, he failed outright. He failed absolutely. He was talking for 10 seconds before he told a blatant material lie. So check this thing out. And again, shout out to Chet Long. Get some, Chet Long, because he was grilling him. The other guys were like, Mario Nawfal's like, Chet, check your DMs real quick for me. Like, you could tell everybody was like, he's off on him. Oh, my goodness, be careful. And then other people would interject and talk about Javier Shalapin, how wonderful he is. And this one banking lawyer is like, oh, how can we help you, Javier? What can we do to help your bank be a success? Why? Well, you want to help him rip off millions of people? Who said that? I didn't write down the name, but I remember laughing at that. And somebody else said, oh, we should be hoping for the success of Moonstone Bank, because if Moonstone Bank is successful, then the FTX customers might be able to get their money back. No, if Moonstone Bank is successful, they're just going to rip off more people. You twit. Anyway.
Who wants to see a live show from Farmington, Washington? I do.
You guys want to see a live show from Farmington? I don't think Farmington wants to see a live show from Farmington. I don't think they want me there. More to come. We'll talk about that.
So I missed the 75. Actually got to negative 55.
You were close.
Yep.
So sorry, Mish. So close.
So close.
Anyways, guys, link in the description to that space. It's a long watch. If you don't, I listened, so you guys didn't have to. That being said, it was really entertaining, and I can tell you, Javier Shalapin makes my skin crawl. Last thing I want to mention real quick, what's going on in China. Folks, be careful in Apple stock. Be really careful in Apple stock. They trade at a valuation of 24 times earnings. Their supply chain is falling apart. They are effectively using slave labor right now. People being forced to live and work at their factory. It's not their factory. It's a Foxconn factory. But it's iPhone City. And people are being beaten by the hundreds at that factory. People are trying to escape for their lives from that factory, and they're being held in there against their will by the government. Bad optics for Apple. Bad for Apple's business. All right. So full disclosure, I have no position in Apple at the moment, either long or short. But be careful with this one. All right. What's going on in China is not good for anyone. I'll say humanity, but it's especially bad for Apple shareholders. Keep an eye on that one, folks. All right, guys. We have been going way too long. Again, if there's one thing you take away from this stream, be careful who you're listening to. Ask yourself, how do they make their money? I have no problem with people making money, right? I do this to make money too. But these people should have known that there's no such thing as a risk-free 15% return. They did know that there's no such thing as a 15% risk-free return. And they pumped it anyway because BlockFi was offering very generous payouts. All right? And reputation matters. That's all I'm going to say about that. And, well, Mish, I'll give you the last word, buddy. What do you got?
I think everybody just take a time and look at things and do some research. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and just keep an eye. Be careful out there.
Well said, sir. Well said. All right, guys. Thanks again, everybody, for the super chats, for your support of the channel. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Appreciate that very much. Link down below should you feel so inclined. And until next time. Oh, wait. Oh, Crushing Bear. I was about to sign off. I was right there. Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. What to expect Apple upcoming quarter earnings. I expect a big warning in Apple's next quarter earnings. I expect Apple to warn that 2023 will not be a good year and warn that they cannot guarantee their supply chain and that this disruptions at the Foxconn factory are having a big effect on that. All right. So, and remember, the big thing about earnings is not what they made last quarter. It's what they're forecasting for next quarter. So I do not expect good things in Apple's next earnings call. Not sure when that is. But again, full disclosure, I currently have no position in Apple, and I will let you guys know if that changes. Thank you, Crushing Bear. Appreciate the super chat, the support of the channel, and I appreciate your support on Patreon as well, sir. All right, guys. With that being said, until next time, live small and dream big.